Beautiful. We are back, and this is Hope at Dawn. My name is Beatrice Nudi. It is time for us to have a look at the newspapers.
And my name is George Gishuru. We start with The Standard,
yes,
and they go with the headline, Misplaced Priorities. The country faces a myriad of problems, from the teacher strike that is threatening to derail secondary school national examinations to a jittery Gen Z youth who are calling for good governance to the imminent threat from the Mpox disease. However, the president and his executive are busy politicking. It's a story you can read on pages 2 and 3. And a country in crisis mode, education, health, economy in dire straits. Tutors have embarked on a strike. Varsity funding model has been labeled discriminatory after doctor strike. The health sector is staring at a crisis following 4 confirmed cases of Mpox. And you can read that on page 2. Tom Boyer, who is a public policy expert, says it is clear there is a lack of seriousness with regards to steadying the ship. It seems there is a feeling of crisis averted following the Gen Z protest. And page 3, Raila's base happy, Gen Z demands on back burner. Critics say Ruto's support for Raila's AU bid is aimed at cooling down ODM leaders' base. Despite ceasefire, there is a growing dissatisfaction with Ruto's policy priorities. The story you can read also on page 3. So they have covered that on page 2 and 3 about the misplaced priorities. Still on the front.
Actually, before you even move on, among those misplaced priorities and looking at the issues that are there, maybe we can camp a bit on the teacher strike just to know what is happening, because I see it's also covered extensively on the Daily Nation. And I see here that Kuppet has called on parents and school principals to avoid engaging in any mischievous arrangements with TSC, emphasizing that teachers were committed to staying out of classrooms until their demands are fully met. And still all the same, I see according to the union, teachers who have furthered their education and attained higher qualifications are being denied the promotions that according to TSC rules should come automatically. It argues that the TSC's refusal to elevate these teachers is not only unfair but detrimental to the future of education. So definitely we have the effect. Wajua fahali wawili wakipigana nyasi ndo zinaumia, and the paralysis in public schools is also affecting millions of learners who have been forced to stay at home as their counterparts in private schools continue with their education. And remember, TSC had rejected Kuppet's request for talks to end the industrial action that is already taking a toll on Form 4 students who are set to write their national exams at the end of the year. That's a story on page 8. And we really pray for sanity, because the timing is wrong. The timing is definitely tricky with the teachers, and especially because the third term is very short and it's when the students are preparing for their national examinations.
All right, checking other stories. This is a very interesting one. Hire school buses at your own risk. Judge has raised issues with legal and financial risks associated with hiring out school buses for weddings, funerals in the event of an accident. So the case involved a school bus hired out to transport church members to a religious event in a landmark decision that could reshape practices surrounding school transportation. Justice Roslyn Aburili of the High Court has issued a stern warning to educational institutions and public regarding the use of school buses for private events. Now, her decision, delivered in a case involving a school bus accident, emphasizes the significant legal and financial risks associated with hiring out school buses for weddings, funerals, and other non-educational activities in case of an accident. So actually, in that ruling, it was said that in case of an accident, that the insurance will not cater for for what has happened, because you are not a student.
Wow.
So the covering is for the students. So you read that landmark ruling. It's on page 7. Mudavadi's star shines brightest. It's on page 6 as well. Prime Cabinet Secretary has been thrust into the limelight courtesy of political differences between the president and his deputy and recent diplomatic campaigns. It's on page 6, and Mudavadi's office will lead Raila's campaign for African Union Commission chair bid. There is talk that Ruto intends to endorse him as his successor if he gets a second term in office. 2.5 years later, country still gripped in campaign mode. It's a story also on page 6 and you see, the thing is, it's the president who is actually leading these campaigns, if we are being honest. Yeah, because he's always on top of cars.
Yeah,
you see, like now the last 4 days he's been in the larger Nyanza area.
Yes.
And so 2.5 years later, bado tuko mambo ya campaign.
We are still there.
Yeah, but anyway, page 8, I see opinion split on Kalonzo's role as opposition head on page 8. You can read that. Can Kalonzo fill Raila's big shoes? The pundits are sharply divided. Some political observers argue that the stars have aligned in favor of Kalonzo, but some say the former vice president, he lacks the charisma and the stamina for that role. Read that on page 8. Page 9, you remember this very sad story over the weekend. A gas explosion leaves trail of destruction in Nairobi's Ngara. Several traders and residents on Desai Road in Ngara, Nairobi were left counting losses following a Sunday morning gas explosion. And on page 23, they say Africa heads eye loans in China. It's in the world news, and African leaders descend on China, eyeing big loans and investment. And last year's top borrowers were Angola, Ethiopia, Egypt, Nigeria, and Kenya. Critics charge Beijing with saddling nations with debt. You can read that on page 23. Africa to take one stand on security, climate change. The Horn of Africa has been found to be extremely vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. Climate-related security threats intensify health, food, water, and energy insecurities across Africa. Then Kagame retires 1,000 soldiers from military. That is the world news as well. You can read that and get to see what is transpiring there. The counties, EAC to grill officials from 3 counties on 400 million shillings graft claims. Summons to 14 officials of the Nakuru County government were issued on the 23rd of August. EACC says Baringo MCAs irregularly created 6 additional county assembly committees. You can read that. Calls for redesign of Nithi Bridge after another accident claims 12 lives. 12 people died on Saturday night after a matatu from Meru collided with a pickup at the accident-prone Nithi Bridge in Tharaka Nithi County. Then the pull-out today, health and science. Experts concerned by rising cases of diabetes in children. Scientists have found out that before the COVID-19 pandemic, the incidence rate of childhood type 1 diabetes was already increasing by about 3% a year. Read that as well on the pullout. The sports pages. Palace hold Chelsea as Newcastle sink Spurs. Palace made the most of the escape to draw level in the 53rd minute. Chelsea's run of 14 successive wins against Palace in all competitions ended. And of course, there was also Newcastle United beating Tottenham Hotspur by 2-1. And at Old Trafford, same old. The more things change, the more things remain the same. And a pathetic performance by Manchester United saw them demolished by 3-0 by their perennial rivals, Liverpool. Tusiseme mengi pale. Like father, like daughter, Stacey Dock aims to kick higher than her father in Taekwondo. Inspiring story there on page 31. And former Ivory Coast defender Saul Bamba dead at 39. Ex-Ivory Coast international defender Saul Bamba, who overcame cancer to resume his playing career, has died at the age of 39, his former clubs announced. And Sinner avoids early exit door as Swiatek moves into last 16. 2022 winner Alcaraz was defeated in the second round by Dutchman Van de Zandschulp. Sinner will take on 14th seed Tommy Paul for a quarter-final place. That is in the sports pages inside the Standard.
Yeah, you know Gigi. Kitambo. Before nijue Manchester. Nilikuwa nafikiria kitanda ndio tu inatandikangwa.
Yeah.
Get it?
Unacheka. Sasa unacheka.
Nilidhani ni kitanda tu utandikwa before I came to know Manchester.
Wapige tu hii Manchester as I saw yesterday. Hoja tu wasiguze mlima.
Wasiguze mlima.
Wasiguze mlima.
Jamani.
Anyway, lakini michezo ya wazungu inasumbuaje watu?
Mbona itusumbue? Mbona ikusumbue?
By the way, funny enough, the good thing, or rather, the only good thing that came out of yesterday's match, Eliud Kipchoge, he was in attendance. He was at Old Trafford.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, he's also sponsored by Ineos. The Ineos, the owner of that company, partly owns Man United. And he is the number one sponsor of Eliud Kipchoge. And actually, he walked out of the pitch before the game. Yeah, so, imagine, the GOAT himself.
Hey, the G-O-A-T.
I tell you.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, lakini mipira ya wazungu haitusumbui.
Haitupesi.
Hata hawanijui.
Si ndio? Hawajui hata uko na t-shirt yao.
Hata hawajui.
But anyway, guys, it's time for us to now delve into the Daily Nation. And the very first top story here is World Bank IMF hit back. And I see here the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, that's the IMF, have for the first time confronted damning accusations of reckless lending to Kenya, even as their rebuttals are disputed by audits and budget. A story on pages 2 and 3. And 1.9 is the trillion of shillings that Kenya owes to the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. It owes the World Bank 1.5 trillion and the IMF 400 billion. A story on pages 2 and also 3. And more on the same, the international lenders cite various projects that they have funded and deny assertions that the interest rates and other charges on loans are too high. That is pages 2 and 3. And pages 4, I see too hot to handle high-profile cases DCI seems unable to crack. And police are yet to resolve the murder and missing persons cases years later. A story on page 4. And coming down to page 6, I see here, leave Uhuru out of Raila Ruto deal. Kalonzo dismisses Azimio leaders' claims that Kenyatta endorses his dalliance with the president. Former President Kenyatta is the chair of Azimio Council, and we meet when we want to, sometimes even without making it public. We are with the people, and the majority of Kenyans are with us. This is from the Wiper leader, Kalonzo Musyoka. Story on page 6. And asked about Kenyatta's stand on the matter, and this is on the Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni dismissed Mr. Odinga's claims against his party leader, Mr. Kenyatta. And asked about that, his spokesperson, Kanzi Dena, on Sunday told the nation, no comment on that subject. Page 6 is where you get that story. Page 7 is Raila, a double agent in DP Gachagwa's Nyanza popularity. Gachagua has persistently been painted by critics as an isolationist who only cares about Mount Kenya interests. We did cover that some time back, and political analyst Gaspar Odhiambo here saying this man was first rated poorly, but lately he has continued to present himself as a master of comebacks when his critics step up their game in a bid to keep him down. And I just want to rush to the pullout today because it has a very, very interesting particular story here on the DN2, scaling heights despite the odds. You know, just on Sunday on Sitam Valley Road, someone, a lady who is physically challenged, actually gave the sermon of the day. And it was a day whereby they were just looking out to make sure that the gospel, since we have the Send Me conference happening, just making sure that we also talk to the people who are, you know, have disability, because sometimes we leave them out, believing that what they need is healing. But the truth of the matter is they also need the gospel. It's interesting how Jesus, even after the paralytic was laid down the roof, the very first thing Jesus says is your sins are forgiven, meaning the soul actually comes before the physical healing. So definitely it's an interesting story, but I love how this also comes together. I see page 4, muscular dystrophy did not stop me from scaling academic heights. He was born healthy, but a debilitating condition set in when he was just 7, almost his schooling. Then his mother suddenly died, complicating matters for Onyango and his elder brother. Paul Murimi, Duncan Onyango's roommate at Kenyatta University, came to the rescue after the caregiver just fled without even saying anything. I often woke up early to prepare for the lectures and help Onyango get ready too. I cooked and washed our clothes and ran errands for him. I often woke up to help him turn at night. I had never encountered anyone in such a state. Very, very sad. And this is a condition, muscular dystrophy. And this is a story on the DN2 pages 4 and also 5. I mean, it's just giving commending this individual who stood in and became the caretaker. I mean, it can be a lot. Imagine your roommate is, having such challenges and you're there to help them through it all. Even as you grapple through your own education, it can be hard. But we thank God that he always provides people to help us in times of need. And lastly, when I go to the back page, Sisters, Coach Firat shows his hand. His name's 25-man traveling squad for Zimbabwe match as Omala poised to lead the attack should injured Captain Olunga fail to pass the fitness test. A story on the back page, Manchester United humbled as Diaz double helps Liverpool humiliate their rivals. Okay, I won't delve there so that, Gigi will be okay.
Kwambia ni michezo ya wazungu.
Mipira ya wazungu. Page 30, this is for you, Dad. Serem Savos steeplechase gold. And lastly, Kanchelangat Waidera deliver Kenya's first gold. World champions Test for Ethiopia will also compete in the race that starts at 11 a.m. Page 31 is where you get that story. That's it for the Daily Nation.
All right, Business Daily, how profiteers are making Kenyans pay more for gas. You can read that on page first page and page 2. Corporate loan defaults. So as auctions blocked, commercial banks are posting a rise in loan defaults from corporate clients as lengthy court processes slow down the sale of collateral to cut the stock of bad debts. And also KQ tests banks with another debt for shares swipe offer. Grab your favorite copy of your daily and get to see what's being reported. Let's continue to pray for our nation. And right about now, we are taking a break to pave way for the video of the day.